of my favorite topics when it comes to discussing teamwork, problem solving, innovation, and thinking out of the box is buy-in and why consensus should be avoided at all costs. I think for many years we've been fed a myth about teamwork. You go into people's offices and they have a picture of people rowing together in a scull and all in unison, or you have birds flying in an arrow, and that's supposed to represent teamwork. Well, I'd like to throw a wrench in that myth and enlighten you to what a real dynamic discourse conversation should look like and why it's so important to get buy-in versus consensus. So first of all, what is consensus and why is it so bad? Well, consensus is great if you're looking for a place to go to lunch, okay? If really what you want is to appease everyone, you want people to be happy, consensus is great. But just think about it. If you're actually looking for the best possible solution, we can almost guarantee that the best solution is not going to come from us giving up what we think is best and somebody else giving up what they think is best to somehow meld together to a combination of those ideas. I can give you a simple example of that. Let's imagine a family that has a daughter and a son. And the son wants to play football and the daughter wants to go to ice skating. Well, a consensus, and let's say that they had these events on the same day at the same time. So every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. And the parent can only take the child to one of the other events, or they can't take them both at the same time. So a consensus solution, for example, would be, well, hey, the kid wants to play, the son wants to play a sport, my daughter, she likes ice, so I'm going to enroll them both in hockey. Now, that doesn't make anybody happy, but that's a consensus type solution. Or another consensus type solution would be, I'll take my son to football on Tuesdays and my daughter to ice skating on Thursdays. So in other words, they each have to miss a practice once a week, but hey, they gave up something, they can agree on it, at least they get a go, right? But that's not really helping anybody, and it's certainly not the best solution. Even more absurd, if you take an example from our team building programs, for example, where there is an actual solution and the team's challenge is to work together to figure out that solution, there's not one of our challenges that can be solved by people agreeing that that's the best answer. That's irrelevant what they agree to. There is actually a best answer. And in order to get to that best answer, you've got to discuss ideas, you've got to understand what people are thinking, you've got to get down and create a whole that's greater than the sum of the parts. So consensus almost by itself eliminates the possibility of problem solving and getting the best answer. One of the greatest myths that people have is that, hey, if everybody in this room agrees to it, it must be right. But that's completely false. There's nothing that guarantees that because the 6 or 8 people in this room think it's a good idea, that it's actually the best idea. Consensus also shows an incredible lack of leadership because instead of actually wanting the best result, looking to be the best that we can be and foregoing some of our personal ego and maybe some of our personal position, what we're really looking for is to appease people and not hurt people's feelings. Now let's talk about buy-in. And I don't want people to misunderstand. So if you're a driver on the 4 personality charts, when we're talking about getting buy-in, we're not talking about not considering people's feelings. In fact, this really taps into the right types of people's feelings. Instead of a loser mentality like consensus, it's a winner's mentality that says, you know what, we're all in this room to get the best possible solution. We're not interested in who gets credit for it. We're judging ideas based on merit, not on who's bringing them forth. One of the things that can kill buy-in quicker than anything else is if you have a boss come into the room who gets special treatment, who no one will confront, whose ideas are put out there and not challenged. It will immediately stifle everything great about people having the courage and feeling safe to share ideas, verbalize, and banter these ideas about. Now, critical to buy-in is a statement I got from a very popular book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, Patrick Lencioni, and a great book and an awesome read. And he says in there something I think very poignant, which is that, you know what, reasonable people do not need to be right, but they do need to be heard. And what you'll find is that in a buy-in situation, it's the responsibility of every person, first of all, to share their opinions. It's expected. So that if you're not sharing your opinion, that's on you. That's not on the group. And so we're expecting you to throw your ideas out. We want you to throw your ideas out. But the idea is that, you know what, you throw it out there and then we're gonna mix it around. We're gonna try to find fault with it if we can, or we're gonna try to build on it if we can. And we're gonna take that idea, we're gonna depersonalize it, we're gonna throw it into the collective consciousness, and we're gonna try to actually move the chains forward towards a solution. So the other part about buy-in is, if you think about a great concept by Stephen Covey, which is psychological error. And what he means by this is that if, let's say you had the meaning of, you had the solution to world peace, or you knew how to cure all cancers, but I was in a room and I had no oxygen. And so you're trying to tell me this, this wonderful knowledge, but before I can really hear you, I need oxygen to breathe, because the only thing I'm going to be thinking about until I get oxygen is I need oxygen to breathe. And what Stephen Covey means by psychological error is that until I'm heard, until I get to voice my opinion in a fair arena where those ideas are challenged, discussed, and brought into the milieu, I am not capable of listening to you or being a participant in the group. Now, buy-in is one of those things that you take one step back to take 10 steps forward. By doing the hard work of getting people's opinions, of getting the ideas out there, people will agree to the solution at the end, even if they don't agree with it. In other words, they'll buy into it, even if they don't necessarily agree, if it wasn't their original idea, because they had been heard. Good luck.